Hey everyone, this is Sleepy Cardamom ASMR. For today's video, I wanted to read a few pages from this book titled Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History by Vashti Harrison. So I'll first read the introduction for you all, and I'll go through a couple of these different individuals. There's quite a few, but I think I went through and chose about 4. I can do another video adding more. I think that would be fun. So, this book grew out of a project I began during Black History Month. It started as a drawing challenge to myself to illustrate one African American woman from history every day for the month of February and post the finished image to a social media with a brief summary of the woman's accomplishments. As I researched and read amazing stories of women, both known and unknown, I was surprised to be moved so deeply. As a Black woman, I have studied the history of my people, but never had I felt this connected to the beauty and passion behind their boldness. Whether they were fighting for their families or for social justice or daring to become an artist or an astronaut, each one of these women broke barriers for those who came after her. In a society where being Black and female meant being an outsider or sometimes invisible, these women dared to go after what they wanted, to demand what they deserved. Some of them were reluctant leaders, while others were not even conscious of their bravery, but their legacies live on to pave the way for more of us to follow. Many of them didn't set out to be pioneers, but all of them were, and we can look to each one of them for inspiration. I wanted to tell all their stories together to celebrate not only their collective contribution to history, but also their diversity. Some of them you will recognize, such as Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks, but you'll also meet less famous figures, such as Alice Ball and Mary Bowser. You'll meet scientists, politicians, doctors, painters, sculptors, and dancers, and they are all Black women. This in no way means that this book is only for Black girls. I hope readers of every background find these stories compelling and inspiring. But I did create it with them and my younger self in mind. I think about what kind of dreams I might have had if I had known about all these women when I was growing up. If I had known that so many people who looked like me had done such incredible things, to be able to see yourself in someone else's story can be life-changing. To know that a goal is achievable can be empowering. I hope that anyone who reads these biographies, whether or not they look like these little leaders, is inspired to go after the things they are passionate about. This collection includes only a handful of the countless bold Black women who have done extraordinary things and lived incredible lives. With these mini biographies, I hope to spark your interest and encourage you to find out more about them and the women who have followed in their footsteps. The little leaders are here to guide you on this journey through history. I originally envisioned them as little girls serving as stand-ins for these famous women. That's why they're little. But as I've started sending them out into the world, they've become bigger than I imagined. I designed them to be interchangeable because I want you, the reader, to see yourself in any one of them and to feel their strength and possibility in you. With every turn of the page, you'll discover a new bold woman who changed history. Let them inspire your future. Welcome. All right, let's begin. first one I chose was Rebecca Lee Crumpler, born 1831 to 1895, and she was a physician. From the very beginning, caring for others was a part of Rebecca's life. She was raised in Pennsylvania by her aunt, who provided health care services to the people in her neighborhood. This passion for helping her community became her life's mission. She attended a private school in Massachusetts and went on to work as a nurse for 8 years. In 1860, she applied to an all-white medical school, the New England Female Medical College, a bold and risky move, but she was accepted. Rebecca graduated in 1864, becoming the first African-American woman physician in the country. Out of more than 50,000 physicians in the United States at the time, only about 300 were women, and Rebecca was the only black woman. She began her practice in Boston, specializing in the care of women and children. But when the Civil War came to an end, she moved to Richmond, Virginia, to work with the Freedmen's Bureau. The fallen Confederate South was extremely hostile to the newly freed slaves, so Rebecca worked with the Bureau to provide health care to them. Rebecca had been born free in Delaware, the state with the highest number of free black people before the war. She was new to the adversity and racism of the South, but she endured it for the sake of helping the poor and needy. Throughout her career, Rebecca had a particular passion for helping women and children. In 1883, she published a 2-part text titled A Book of Medical Discourses. The first part focuses on care for infants and the second part on women's health. It is possibly the first medical article published by a black woman. We've got the art here with Rebecca, her briefcase. We've got the poster for the New England Female Medical School. The Freedmen's Bureau sign. Some pictures of the brain. The skeleton in the back. Alrighty, that was our first little leader. Second one should be the next page. Yep, Mary Bowser. So, Mary Bowser was born circa 1840 with an unknown death date, and she was a Civil War spy. Very little is recorded about Mary's life. What we do know is that she was born into slavery in Richmond, Virginia, around 1840. She was purchased by the wealthy Van Loo family as a companion for their daughter, Elizabeth. The Van Loos were no ordinary family in the South, though. They had a secret. They were Northern spies and abolitionists involved in the secret Underground Railroad. Prior to the war, when Mary was a teen, Elizabeth granted her freedom and arranged for her to receive her education in Philadelphia. Mary wanted to assist the Van Loos in their efforts against the Confederacy. At that time in the South, it was illegal for a black person to have an education or even to read. For that reason, no one would ever suspect Mary was a threat. As a slave, she could hide in plain sight. So she agreed to go undercover as a slave in Jefferson Davis's Confederate White House. While cleaning, she would steal glances at confidential memos, and while serving dinner, she would eavesdrop on conversations between Confederate officials. She passed information about the troop movements and army plans to Elizabeth, who passed them along to Union officials. Rumor has it that Mary had a photographic memory and was able to read a page once and recite it back word for word. After the war, Mary educated freed slaves and traveled around the United States giving speeches. For a long time, she was careful to conceal her true identity, using a variety of aliases. Eventually, she disappeared completely, but she is remembered. In 1995, she was inducted into the Military Intelligence Hall of Fame. I really wish we knew more about Mary's life because it's just so fascinating. I can't even imagine how difficult it was, obviously, to be enslaved during that time, but for her to be a spy is just so dang cool. I'm gonna flip through. I think the next one is further down. Oh, there she is. Alrighty, so this is Bessie Coleman, born 1892 to 1926. She was a pilot. I've always loved Bessie Coleman. I think she's just so cool, and as terrified as I am of flying, I think her just being a pilot is such an interesting occupation. So let's get into it. Bessie grew up in a small, segregated town in Texas. At home, with 3 younger siblings around, she had a lot of responsibilities. Washing clothes by hand, fetching clean water, on top of walking 4 miles to school and back every day. Bessie knew that one day she would leave her small town. In 1915, she moved to Chicago to live with her older brothers. Returning from World War I, they told her all about being in France and about how the women there could fly planes, unlike the women in America. This got Bessie curious, furiously curious. She applied to every aviation school in America she could find, but was denied entry. No one at any of these schools thought a girl could fly, especially not a black girl. Bessie wanted to prove them wrong. In 1920, she moved to France where she could finally learn aviation. She was so gifted, she graduated from the 10-month flight school in only 7 months. So, in 1921, Bessie became the first African American woman in the world to receive her pilot's license. She specialized in stunt flying, parachuting, and aerial tricks. After returning home to the United States, Bessie flew for huge crowds. She was very popular among both white and black Americans and stood up against segregation and discrimination whenever she could. She hoped to open up her own flight school to teach other girls of color how to fly. Unfortunately, during a show in 1926, a mechanical issue caused her plane to crash. Bessie passed away, but her legacy lives on. In 1977, the Bessie Coleman Aviators Club opened in Chicago to support women of all races to reach their dreams of flying. Such a tragic way to pass away. I remember reading up on her years ago and just being so bummed that she wasn't able to open up her own flight school and just live the rest of her life. But I really admire everything that she's done. She says, I made up my mind to try. I tried, and I was successful. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Marian Anderson, born 1897 to 1993. An opera singer. With a nickname like Baby Contralto, Marian always had a future in opera. She started singing with the church choir in her hometown of Philadelphia when she was only 6 years old. The congregation wanted to help cultivate Marian's natural talent, so they raised funds to get her voice lessons. By the 1930s, Marian was performing at big venues and famous institutions in the United States and Europe, often as the first woman or African American to do so. In 1935, she was invited to the White House to sing for President and First Lady Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. She was the first African American to receive such an honor. This, however, did not stop discrimination from affecting her career. In 1939, she was barred from performing at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. When Eleanor Roosevelt found out, she invited Marian to sing at the Lincoln Memorial on Easter Sunday. Marian sang in front of a crowd of 75,000 people and was broadcast live across the United States to millions by radio. Marian stayed in the national spotlight for many more years. In 1955, she became the first African American to perform the New York the first African American to perform with the New York Metropolitan Opera. She delivered the national anthem at President John F. Kennedy's inauguration. He later awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She participated in the Civil Rights Movement and sang at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963. Marian was a trailblazer and a leader in her field, with a long respected career. With her voice, she reached people all around the world, and when faced with adversity, she rose above it. I had no idea she she sang the national anthem at John F. Kennedy's inauguration. I'm gonna have to try and find a video of that. That's really cool. But I think that is it for now. I love this book, so I definitely want to read a couple more throughout it. The artwork, although the biographies are short, it's a nice little blurb about these amazing figures in American history, and even other countries too, like Josephine and France. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this. And I hope you found this relaxing.